Whoa, buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or translator, and around the world on the interwebs at MichaelDukesShow.com. It is The Michael Dukes Show. Well, I figured you knew that by now. Good morning and welcome to the program. Wednesday. Wednesday. It's the middle of the week, downhill slide. You could see Firearms Friday from here. It looks good. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the program, and thanks for coming in and joining us. Every day, Monday through Friday, we try to dive into the issues that matter to you here in the state of Alaska. Things are of import, things that you can actually make a difference on, as compared to, what we're normally faced with every day, the geopolitics and the national politics and things that really we've got no pull in. We've got nothing to say. And here's where we can make a difference, my friends. Here is where we make a difference. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to working with you on this and talking about it and doing it today on the program. We're going to hit some headlines here. We got just a few before we run the clock out, so to speak. And then we will be picking things up with congressional candidate, for candidate for U.S. Senate, Kelly Tshibaka. She is the GOP's pick for U.S. Senate, and she's going to come on board and talk with us this morning about the campaign. We will talk with her about the SCOTUS confirmations, how the loss of Don Young may affect things, what her thoughts are on that, the war in Ukraine, and we'll probably talk with her about this new poll that came out from Signal, CYGNAL, Signal, that says that she's got a pretty good shot at winning ranked choice voting, which, again, with all due respect to Signal and everybody else, I think that this is a tough race. You got a lot of name recognition going on here, and a really powerful motivation for a lot of moderates and Democrats to retain Murkowski over Tshibaka. So while I am heartened by the report, I'm also not as confident as Signal that this is going to happen. And what I really worry about is people will be like, oh, she's in like Flynn then. Don't worry about it. No. We still need to fight. We still need to push. We still need to talk to our neighbors, get people to the polls, and do all that kind of stuff. So anyway, we'll be talking with Kelly Tshibaka about that here in hour one. In hour two, we'll be talking with our friend, State Senator Mike Shower, for the Shower Hour of Power. That's the word. That's the word we've got right now. I'm just making sure that the senator is ready, willing, and able. I haven't heard anything different, but you never want to know. You never want to say until it's all said and done. So Tshibaka and Shower today on the program. Coming up tomorrow, I am working on a couple guests. I don't have anything solidified, so I hate to even tease it at this point. Although I am considering asking Ben Carpenter to come on and talk with us about the the throwdown. The throwdown going on in the legislature over masks, of all things. This is just stupid. People are ready to get back to work. People are ready to get back to work, and they're ready for the government to acknowledge that and just get back to it. We all understand COVID's here. We all understand that it's out there. We all we accept the risks and we move forward. And we just want life to get back to business as usual. And it seems like that there are people that are constantly throwing this stuff back around to us. I've worked with people even in my own business, where I have certain people that I work with that I love to death, but that are just absolutely petrified that somehow they could get COVID and it would be bad. Here's the thing. It's out there. It's in the world. We're all going to catch it at one point or another. The best thing you can do is, do the mitigating factors you can, make sure you're as healthy as you can, make sure you take your vitamins and your supplements and do all that. And don't go around licking doorknobs and, grabbing into a room of people that are all breathing each other's air, and, just do what you need to. But at the same time, we still got to get business done. And that's what's going on right now. So there was a huge dispute on Monday, which you probably heard about on the floor of the House. Speaker Louise Stutes had mandated that everybody, staff and elected leaders and everything, all had to wear masks. And there were a few of the minority that just said no. Yesterday, I read David Eastman's comments on it. He was ironically in this whole thing, he was one of the first people in the Capitol to ever mask up and attend the meetings in masks. And so I don't think he's afraid of wearing masks. He just basically said, look, it just doesn't matter anymore. It's, I think it was tantamount to security theater, I think is what he was impugning in his comment. And I would certainly agree with that at this point. This big outbreak that's happening right now in Juneau, the ADN was reporting that it's upwards of something like 24 people or something now, 24 active cases. All stems from this big gathering that the what's it called, the sham, the damn sham, the ram sham, whatever it was. Anyway, which is normally attended by mostly Democrats. It's a fundraiser where they're all cheek to jowl in there without masks and everything else. And now they're like, no, we can't have any more. And I have some thought that, now, first and foremost, what's interesting is that Louise Stutes got into it with Ben Carpenter, actually outside of the chambers of the Capitol. He was sitting at his desk yesterday, apparently ready to conduct business in the chambers, and notified that the speaker wanted to talk to him in the hallway. So he went out and met with her in the hall. And then she tried to get him to go into her office, where I don't know if she was going to give him a scolding or try and talk rationally to him or whatever. And he told her, no, I think this conversation needs to happen in public. Now, they didn't get into a shouting match or anything, but basically she told Carpenter that if he didn't put his mask on, she was going to gavel out. And he's quoted as saying, and get this, you got to do what you got to do. To which she did. She then went in and gavelled out, and they've been gavelled out. Since Monday, essentially. Now the Republicans are saying basically this is, yesterday Kevin McCabe, I think, or maybe it was Monday, called in and said, this is time dilation. As last year we were talking about using time dilation as a weapon, and now it seems like they're using it for a different reason. They want to string things along. Now my question is, are the Republicans playing into the hands on this? Because here's part of the problem. And I think the ADN actually touches on this without even realizing what they're touching on. Here's what the ADN says. The House majority, with 21 of the chamber's 40 seats, has a bare minimum votes to maintain control of the chamber. Having members out sick jeopardizes the caucus's ability to block hostile amendments from the 18-person Republican minority and secure the 21 votes needed to pass the final version of the budget. So with the fact that the majority of the people who are sick, of these 20-something representatives and staffers who are sick, with the majority of them being Democrats, this puts in a way, I wonder if this would put the minority in the catbird seat. You get 2 or 3 of the legislators out, and Ivy Sponholz and who was it? I'm sorry. Ivy Sponholz and Chris Tuck were both noted as being positives. And then Neil Foster went out to get tested and never came back, so we don't know if he's sick or not. But the bottom line is that if you get 2 or 3 or 4 people out on the majority side, boy, now would be the time to really start talking about making those amendments, because you've got a pretty even chance of getting them across the finish line if you can hold the minority together. So, I mean, while I applaud, Carpenter and Eastman and Kirka and all those folks who don't want to wear the masks, I wonder if strategically, if it would have been good to put the masks on and go in there and get these things done while the Democrats are sick. You know what I mean? If they're out, not coming in, not being able to vote, then that would be. But anyway, I applaud those people for standing up for their rights and basically not, virtue signaling essentially, because the masks aren't doing anything, right? I mean, they're just at this point, it just doesn't matter. So if you're sick, you don't come to work. That's the rule around my office. If you're feeling sick, you're feeling poorly, you don't come to work. We don't make you, jump through the things and give me a 63-page doctor report and testing. But some people are scared of it. Here was the thing that caught my attention. Stutz' chief of staff was among those who tested positive, according to Stutz. And this is in the ADN. And she herself was sick with a terrible cold last week, but she said she tested negative at least twice a day, every day. Are you telling me she tested herself twice a day, every day for a week? Wow. I mean, wow. Twice a day, every day for a week, you tested yourself. There's a little bit of paranoia going on at that point. Take your vitamin C, take your zinc, take your, whatever. Smear on the horse dewormer if you need it. I don't know. But whatever it is, 2 tests a day, twice a day, every day for a week. Somebody may be a little paranoid about that. I'm just throwing that out there. But anyway, it's going to be very interesting because, again, this very thin minority, there is an opportunity here if some of these Democrats do, if they open up the floor session and they start moving on, and some of them are out sick, it might give the ability for the Republicans actually to get something done, or maybe sway 1 or 2 members. All it would take is 1 or 2 members of the majority to swing over on a vote to really be able to push it over. So it's interesting stuff to watch. But that's the big thing going on in the Capitol right now. Fear and virtue signaling. It's security theater at this point. We all know it. We all know it's security theater. All right. Well, I guess that's it. I've just looked up and I'm right up on the break. So we're gonna be back in just a minute. Kelly Tshibaka is gonna be our guest. GOP candidate for Senate. She is the GOP pick for that Senate seat. But of course, we got the jungle primary and we got the ranked choice voting and everything else. And oh, what a hot mess. What a hot mess. Kelly Tshibaka returns with us here in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Good morning. I'm going to get coffee right now.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. We are in the break right now. And good morning to you. I guess I should say first things first. Good morning to you. Thank you for coming on board and joining us. I see I got one line on hold. I don't know why somebody called in because I didn't say the phone lines were open, but let's go over there real quick just to see who it is and see what they want. Good morning. Who's this? What do you want?
Hi, Mike, Jeff from Homer. I just turned the radio on, and then when you said she's up next, I went, well, I'm just going to listen. I'm on my phone. So I didn't realize you had somebody coming on.
Okay, well, I got Kelly Tshibaka coming on. If you want, you can hold on and listen on your phone, or if you can listen on the radio, whatever works for you.
No, I can turn the radio on. I'm going back into camp here, but I was just going to say, I've noticed people with masks on here, especially since Fauci came on TV and said there's another one coming and all that. And it's like, there's a lot of people that aren't wearing masks. And, I think the whole thing is everybody just needs to, you do your thing and I'll do mine. And that's what it seems to be around here. Nobody has a big problem with it, You want to wear your mask? I just tell them, hey, if I meet you again, you come to my house, please put the mask on so I know who you are.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you look like with it off.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like I said, I ain't crawling under no damn rock. And they've proven they don't work, So, and I believe these people breathing their own carbon monoxide are getting sicker. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And if you're out in good old sunshine working and getting out, vitamin D every day like I do, going to the woods, moonshine hunting, doing things, seem to be healthy, no colds, no nothing. So, I've walked through this thing and had no problems.
Right.
So,
no. Look, some people
are lucky, maybe I'm not.
Yeah. Some people are deeply affected by it. Some people are lightly affected by it. You never know, I guess, until it's Russian roulette or whatever, but I mean, I'm going to pays my money, takes my chances. You know what I mean? That's
right.
That's how it is. We're going to do the best we can. And
a lot of younger people that are scared to hell with this thing,
right?
Because they're listening to everything on, they're watching 8 Newses, and I don't even watch the news anymore. And I just kind of go my own way and kind of ignore it all. So,
yeah.
It is what it is. If it kills me, it kills me. If it don't, it don't. I don't know. I'm just tired of listening to it and everybody's opinions, and everybody that I see now, I approach them with that same attitude. I don't mention the mask. If they do, I go, hey, do what you want. I don't care.
All right, Jeff.
Stay 25 feet away.
I got to go. Thank you for your call, my friend. I appreciate it. Hold the line, folks. I got to answer this phone call.
All right.
Okay. Sorry about that. We were getting, Kelly was calling in on the wrong number. So it's okay. We were just trying to get it squared away. And I think we've got her on the right number now. Look at that. Kelly Tshibaka, our guest. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy to be on the right number.
Yeah. No, hey, it happens. It's, when I shift stuff around sometimes, and, I'm always trying to keep people guessing. It's just, it's how I keep the FBI from finding me. No, not really. But anyway. Good morning. We are about 60 seconds out. So if you want to hold the line for me and drink my virtual coffee and eat my virtual donuts in the virtual green room, we'll be right back to you.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Okay, hold the line. Kelly Tshibaka, our guest, is going to be joining us here in a second. Laura says, dude, blue is your color. Really? I didn't. I think I own 2 things that are blue. You just happen to catch me in one of them. No, I probably own more than that. But thank you. Facebook censorship has gone off its rocker. It didn't like me mentioning a movie, Hang 'em High, with Clint Eastwood. Hang 'em High apparently is a hate crime. Yeah, no. Those algorithms, they've got no sense of humor whatsoever. This is why I hate Facebook. I say as I broadcast live on Facebook, but, it's like there's no common, not that they could have people watching every video all the time, but I don't know, it's crazy. All right. Let's, I guess that's it. We're 10 seconds out. Like and share this show. Like and follow the show page. Subscribe and ring the bell on YouTube. Let's do this. The Michael Duke Show. You ready to do this? Let's dive into it. It's Wednesday. It's bright and early, and we're ready, man. We're fingers cracking, ready to jump off the dime here and move on to it. Kelly Tshibaka is the GOP candidate for U.S. Senate. Yes, she's the one that's been named by not the other she who shall not be named. No. She's the one that's got the nod, and she's on board this morning to talk with us about everything that's going on for this race for U.S. Senate, and we're gonna run the gamut with her here for the next 30 or 40 minutes and just chat with her. Kelly Tshibaka joins us right now. Good morning there. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Michael. I'm good. I'm glad to be with you.
Well, as always, it's a pleasure to speak with you, and we appreciate it coming up. So, here's something I've forgotten to ask you the last few times that I've had you on the program. And this is something that I used to ask a lot, and I've kind of given up in some ways because I would always get an answer, and then it would be, well, you'll understand when I ask the question. Once you're elected to the office of senator for Alaska, would you commit to us to coming on the program once a month, once every 6 weeks, to sit down with the listeners and explain what's going on down there in Washington, D.C., and spend a little bit of time with us? I mean, more than like a 10-minute little soundbite window. Maybe the 20, 30, 40 minutes like we've been doing here so far. Would you commit to doing that for us when you become the senator for Alaska?
I'd be happy to come back and talk with the Michael Duke Show. Of course, your program is important, and it's important to reconnect with Alaskans. One of the things that I think is really critical for our U.S. Senate seat is to use it to demystify government and make sure Alaskans understand what's actually happening in Washington, D.C., and to talk straight about things going on the Hill. I think we are really tired of what they call the misinformation in Washington, D.C., or the lower 48. It's a spectrum of deception. Up here, I think we just call it lies. And
Right.
One of the things I think we can do is get rid of politicians who are lying to us and instead just talk straight. My dad always said, hey, kid, tell it like it is. They might not like what you say, but they'll always know where you stand. And we call that integrity.
Right.
And I'm ready for a little bit more talking straight and telling it like it is,
Yeah.
Our infrastructure bill doesn't have infrastructure in it. We're not going to get a single road or new bridge or even a new lane in it. But instead, there's a lot of corporate buyouts for people who are producing green energy and donating, these leftist environmentalist groups that are donating huge amounts of money into Murkowski's campaign. That's what this bill is loaded with. So let's talk straight about what's happening in Washington, D.C., and inform people in Alaska what we are and are not getting. Like that bill, for example, is going to cost us net at least $565 million, according to the Congressional Budget Office.
Right.
So how does that help us up here in Alaska when I just talked to a bunch of people who've lost everything in the last year because of Deb Haaland's votes and decisions killing our economy in Alaska.
Right. Well,
that's the stuff we need to know.
Well, and I think it's intentional obfuscation, Kelly. I mean, you worked in the Inspector General's office. You've been behind the scenes. You've uncovered some of these things, and I think a lot of times it's intentional inefficiencies. It's intentionally obfuscating the truth of what's going. They want to make it complicated enough so that we must depend on them to, semi-demystify it for us so they can talk to us, the little people, and explain it to us. And that's always part of the problem. And one of the reasons why I said I hesitated to ask the question was because I've had plenty of politicians on here who've said, oh, yes, of course, I'd love to talk with you anytime you. And, of course, it always begins well, but inevitably, in year 2 or year 3 or year 4, trying to get somebody onto the program to just explain what's going on in their own words like they used to come on their program before is like, pulling teeth or dragging people down the street kicking and screaming. It's like they don't want to talk to the public anymore, and I'm not saying you'll do that. I'm just saying that seems to be the trend. And you're right. It is the demystification of government that needs to occur. We need to be government of the people and by the people. And if the people can't understand the basic law, and this is another thing with all the elected leadership in the national level, most of them being attorneys, is that they make it so complicated and obfuscated that people, unless you've got a law degree, half the time you can't understand exactly what the law says. And I find that offensive, personally.
Michael, I couldn't agree more. I think it's absolutely wrong. And one of the things that I've committed my public service career to is exactly what you just said. When I was in 5th grade, Mrs. Barter asked us to send home a paper of what you wanted to be when you grow up. Mine didn't say a bureaucrat. I'll just be honest.
Right.
But that's what ended up happening in my life, because the job I got when I first started my career was in becoming an anti-swamp bureaucracy whisperer. And I learned how to do exactly what you're saying, making government work for the people. And one of my first cases was stumbling across top-level FBI officials and Department of Justice officials who conspired with internal investigators to cover up them abusing Americans and violating constitutional rights. And this report was going to go out saying, hey, nothing happened here, nothing to look at. And I discovered it and exposed it, flipped an officer, found the evidence they tried to hide, and it went all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And I realized, if you don't have a tenacious Alaskan in here who's not afraid to be threatened and won't be bullied and won't be controlled and won't be silenced, these people will get away with everything.
Yeah.
And who's going to make government work for the people? And that's when I decided, I'm going to commit my career to public service, serving my country and making this happen. Because if you don't have people willing to jump in and make government work, it doesn't work for us. It absolutely works against us. And so I have this deep core principle, and I think most Alaskans do, that this is how it's supposed to work. And that's what I'm committed to. So for me, it's not just lip service. This is why I'm doing it. I've done this for 20 years. This is actually what got me into the race. When I saw Murkowski cast the tie-breaking vote to move Deb Haaland's confirmation forward, and she said, I have misgivings about this. I think you're going to break your promises to us, and it's going to hurt Alaskans, but I'm going to do this anyway. I just decided the next person I need to hold accountable is Lisa Murkowski, because she just voted away my kids' future.
Right.
My kids can't stay here and can't grow up here. None of us can. Everything we're living out now in our economy, in our jobs, in our oil and gas industry, in our resource industry, Deb Haaland is taking 60 million more acres of hunting from us. She's shutting down our navigable water rights. She killed our Ambler mining road. She killed NPRA and Willow and Anwar, and we could just go on and on. Murkowski has voted to confirm more than 90% of Biden's radical nominees this year.
Right.
She's killing our state. Where are my children going to grow up? I've got 5 of them at home. I loved my job, loved my church, loved my husband. I'm educating 5 kids during COVID. My life was good, Michael. I am so committed to this principle you're talking about. If government is against us, then who's fighting for us?
Right. Who's watching the watchers? If the watchers are corrupted, who's watching the watchers? And that's kind of what we're looking at right now. It's interesting the way you lay it out there, especially Murkowski. I wish, for some reason, I deleted the email, but this is back during the Sotomayor confirmation hearings, and I sent a very detailed email to Senator Murkowski at the time that laid out especially Sotomayor's problems with the Second Amendment. And I got back this letter that basically said, well, I agree with you on this, and that is definitely troubling, but I believe that the president's prerogative is to nominate who they want, and we need to approve that. And I'm like, no, wait a second. It's confirm. You're supposed to approve and you're supposed to vet, approve, and confirm. And that's not just we rubber stamp it because the president wants it. I wish I still had the email because it would make perfect fodder. But that's essentially what you said is, well, we believe that the president should have that priority. No. It's vet and confirm. And, of course, the Democrats have had no problem doing that. We saw what happened with Kavanaugh. We saw what happened with Coney. We saw, those kind of things going on. Why can't you, and especially even with Deb Haaland, Well, I think this is a problem. I think you're going to break your promises, but I'm going to vote for you anyway. What?
Right. Well, in so many ways, Michael, Murkowski has squandered her seniority. One of the reasons why we put our votes and our money into a senator who's got 20-plus years in the Senate is so they can use that seniority to be a good goalie for us, if you will. They use it for something. If your vote is just there to rubber stamp what the president wants. Now, let me put a parenthesis in here. She sure as hell didn't do that when Trump was president. She opposed Kavanaugh. She filibustered Amy Coney Barrett. Let's remember that. But she's rubber stamping Biden because she's buddies with Biden. But use your seniority to protect us up here in Alaska. It's not really about Trump and it's not really about Biden. It's supposed to be about Alaska. But this is exactly the point that you're talking about. We have no idea how Murkowski is going to vote on this last budget bill that they had less than 24 hours to read, and it's longer than the Bible. There were provisions in there that completely chopped up our Second Amendment rights. Right now, if you get a false flag when you go buy a gun, you get an automatic criminal background check. It doesn't matter if your false flag washes out. You have an automatic criminal investigation. You will be criminally investigated by the federal government now.
Right. If you get a false positive.
Voted.
Yeah, if you get a false positive on the NICS test, right.
Yep. Lisa Murkowski voted for that. Sullivan voted against that. That is an invasion of our constitutional rights. And another one, we now have this extremely radical Supreme Court nominee that Joe Biden has put forward. She bends over backwards consistently to defend child pedophiles that have come before her. She's done this since law school. She's on the record defending child sex predators. And she's got this radical record across the board in everything that she's done. The U.S. Sentencing Commission won't release her records. I think they're afraid about what we'll see. But remember, the only reason she's on deck, Michael, is because Lisa Murkowski was one of the only Republicans who voted to promote her just 1 year ago to the federal bench. There's a progression for getting to the U.S. Supreme Court. You have to become a federal judge. Murkowski was one of the only people who put this woman up. Now, this woman can't and won't define what a woman is in her proceedings right now to become in her confirmation proceedings. They've asked her, how do you define a woman? She refuses to define a woman. So much of judicial law and rulings come down to how do you define a woman? Think of employment law, family law, the Civil Rights Act. So many of our laws come down to, are you a woman? Are you a man? It comes down to gender protection. She refuses to define a woman, but she will absolutely let child sex predators off on as lenient of sentences as possible. Murkowski's already voted to confirm this woman, and now she's saying, I don't know if I'm going to put her on the Supreme Court of the United States. We're going to let this woman be a justice. There will be no justice for women and no justice for children if this nominee becomes confirmed.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I'm not a biologist, but I can probably define what a woman is, even though I know that that's part of the problem there. But it's this kind of stuff that we see, this kind of constant behavior. But yet, when this all came down, remember 2010 and Joe Miller, he won the nomination, yada, yada, yada. We got the runoff. Not the runoff, but the write-in. I mean, we look at what's coming up and we look at this total train wreck that is the ranked choice voting. We've got the jungle primary and then the ranked choice and everything else. And there's a lot of Alaskans that still, I've explained this, several times on the program, and people are still kind of scratching their heads. And even I don't know all the ins and outs. I've had experts on, and this is going to be a hot mess. Now, even saying that, I know I saw the report the other day that Signal came out and said that you do very well in that. But what do you think the effect of the new voting systems are going to have on this? And if you want, let's talk about the Signal report here as well.
So fortunately, and I'm excited about this, Breitbart reported this Signal poll that came out that says in the ranked choice scenario in November, I currently have a 2-point lead over Murkowski and win the general election. I am so excited about this. Thank you, Alaska. That's huge because we still have several months to go to increase that lead. It's going to be a tough fight. Of course, taking on the 50-year Murkowski monarchy is a really big uphill battle, but it's been a year of campaigning already, and a lot of that win comes from a mobilized grassroots effort of a team of Alaskans. So thank you, everybody, who's listening who's been part of that team. It's been a big effort. What ranked choice really means, I think the big impact and effect and risk is people get so frustrated and skeptical about the system that they stay home, Michael. We're going to have voting doubt and voting fatigue. But what we saw last November, just about 6 months ago, whether it was in Virginia or New Jersey or even in Minneapolis and Seattle, these places that voted for Joe Biden by double digits in 2020, just 1 year later, because of voter turnout, common sense Americans flipped their votes and said, we are not on board with this leftist regime and agenda. And common sense policies won. They have a Republican governor in Virginia for the first time in over 10 years. They said, we want to support our law enforcement and our military. Parents should be involved in education. Race does not determine your destiny. And policies flipped in all of those places because of voter turnout.
Right.
And I think that's really the key for ranked choice. Voter turnout. Do not stay at home. We have common sense, courageous Alaskans here who are not on board with the Biden administration. That's really what this election is about. We have a $5,200 on average inflation tax for every home because of Joe Biden. Think about where our gas is. Think about our empty shelves. Think about everything that we're being hit with, people who are out of their jobs. We've had a net loss of something like over 25% of our jobs on the North Slope just in 1 year since Deb Haaland has been in office. That's what we're actually signaling is what's the future of Alaska. And the future of Alaska is not a bunch of complacent Alaskans sitting at home on their sofas. The future of Alaska is us working together as a team to say, we have something to say about this, and Washington, D.C. is going to listen.
Well, we're definitely looking at this next election cycle to be a repudiation of the Biden administration and the Biden policies, and really the overall leftist turn of the Democrats in all of the chambers of the Congress and in the administration as well. We're going to continue this discussion with Kelly Tshibaka, who is our guest. Kelly4AK.com is her website. That's the number 4AK, Kelly4AK.com. Kelly Tshibaka, GOP candidate for U.S. Senate, continues with us here in just a moment. It is the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Make sure to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Michael Duke Show if you'd like to chat with us there as well.
What is that?
Common sense.
Regularly heard on American radio.
Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the commercial break right now. Kelly Tshibaka is our guest. Kelly, this is where we let our hair down a little bit. It's just you, me, and 57 of our closest friends on Facebook right now. So tell me how you really feel. That's what I'm just saying right now. Tell me how you.
Well, first, the 4 in the website is spelled out, FOR.
Oh, well, you go either one. It works. It works because that's what I was looking at right now. I used the first one, and it took me right to your site. So. Yeah,
I'm glad to know that.
Yeah.
I learned something from you.
Yeah, see, either because I just typed it into my browser and it was like this one, and I'm like, yep, and it took me right to your website. So
perfect.
Either FOR or the number 4 works. Both of them work. So there you go. I got to be honest with you. I believe that you are the best contender for this race that I've seen in a long, long time. But I have often said that, as you said, and I think you put it succinctly. We are fighting a 40-plus year dynastic politics situation where the name Murkowski is becomes synonymous with Alaska, and so she's got the huge name recognition. She panders to those who are in the left and the middle. We saw what happened under Joe Miller, where the Democratic Party threw their own candidate under the bus and said, oh, no, write in this name. And everything else. So this is definitely going to be an uphill battle. And as much as I like what I saw from the Signal report, I also get fearful when people say, oh, look, she's going to win, that it will be, you can't take your eye off the ball. That you cannot grow weary in well-doing. You've got to keep pushing. And as you said, growing that margin.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. And especially when you realize that here in Alaska, we are facing a campaign run by Democrats, a PAC run by Democrats. Lisa's flaunting her endorsements from Democrats. But at the national level, all of her steam and momentum is coming from Mitch McConnell and his National Republican Senate Committee. She's got endorsements and support from Democrats at the national level. She's supported by big tech and George Soros. So we're facing a establishment machine. She's got a huge fundraiser being thrown by former President George Bush. So she's got Democrat establishment support. She's got Republican establishment support. And I don't think, for example, here in Alaska, we much like being told by the people of Kentucky who our senator is going to be. Do you think the people of Kentucky want the people of Alaska mobilized, telling them who their senator is going to be?
Right.
When you think about what exactly is happening here, the people of Alaska have spoken. The Alaska Republican Party has said Murkowski cannot be a Republican, and this is who our candidate is. They've endorsed me. The Alaska grassroots momentum's happened. Murkowski's getting 3% of her money from Alaska. We're getting the vast majority of my funding is coming from Alaska. We've broken in-state fundraising records. Alaska's already spoken. Really, this shouldn't even be a battle by all accounts. And yet we're having to fight against all of this establishment momentum for Lisa Murkowski. I agree with you. It's going to be a fight to the end. But I also believe don't mess with the Arctic spirit of Alaskans. Do you know what we can do? We build pipelines. We run Iditarods. We build earthquake-proof buildings. All the people tell us, oh, there's no way you can do that. And we continue to defy everybody's expectations. And I think we're probably going to be the world's biggest headline come December. That's what I think.
Well, I hope so. I mean, I hope you're right. You know, like I said, I mean, we already know what normally happens in midterms anyway. There's already that momentum going on. On top of the fact that this is one of the most unpopular presidents in history with all the different policies, plus the inflationary factor, plus the pushing of all the green stuff and everything else and the acrimony. I mean, this is set to be kind of an earth-shaking midterm election to begin with. And here you have, again, you as one of the best candidates that has ever come out against Lisa Murkowski. And I think you've got the best shot at it.
Thank you, Michael.
I definitely would like to see a sea change down there. But it is, again, I don't want people to see this signal report and go, oh, she's got it in the bag then. We can go back to sleep. No, do not go back to sleep. You've got to be paying attention, you know?
Well, and I agree. And I don't think 2 points is in the bag at all. I think 2 points is that's positive momentum that we still have to build upon. You know, if you've got a 2-point lead at halftime in a game, nobody says, okay, let's take a break. I mean, that's just a good halftime talk, and you go out and you play extra hard. And I also would say, let's not be fooled. This race is not about me. And I also don't really think that this race is about Lisa Murkowski. This race fundamentally is about Alaska. Biden has issued 22 direct executive actions against our state in 1 year. 1 year. Imagine what's going to happen in the next 3 years.
Right.
And if you don't have somebody in there saying, hold up, I'm standing in the way, I offer myself this tribute. I'm standing in the way, and I'm here to block Biden because I'm not buddies with Biden.
Right.
I haven't served in office with him for 20 years, and I'm more interested in being popular with the people I party with in D.C. rather than serving the people of Alaska. Imagine what's going to happen to our state as he targets us for his 30 by 30 plan, locking up 30% of the United States as national park ground by 2030. We've got how many more years left? Just 7.5?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hold it.
Imagine what's going to happen to our state by then.
Yeah. Hold the line here, Kelly. We're going to be right back to you. Kelly Tshibaka is our guest. We're coming back to the radio. We're about to rejoin. Like and share this video. Like it, follow the show page. Here we go. All right, welcome back to the program. Kelly Tshibaka is our guest. We're talking about the upcoming race, what's going on. We've been kind of covering some different things. We talked a little bit about the SCOTUS confirmations. One of the things, obviously, that's been in the news here lately, Kelly, is the loss of Don Young. And what effect do you think this is going to have in Congress as a total and as a whole? What's your thoughts on it? And have you, there's 13 people already who've kind of declared for the race or semi-declared for the race. Are you picking a favorite here, or what are you doing? Let's talk about that.
So I'm personally super sad about the loss of Don Young. He had a huge impact on my life. He was the first major campaign that I volunteered on, and he helped to really inspire and mobilize me. I went to an extremely liberal high school, and I got to wear my Don Young T-shirt to school, which resulted in a lot of strong reactions, which helped to make me more conservative. So I got to talk with Don Young several months ago and say, hey, you're a large part of the inspiration about why I'm running for U.S. Senate. And his eyes got really big. He's like, really? And I explained the story. And he said, all of the visceral reactions I got from liberals about working on your campaign helped to really solidify my convictions as a conservative and helped to kind of shape this path. I worked on that campaign and then worked for Ted Stevens. And, when you start running for Senate, you kind of think, how did this happen and how did I get here? And these memories really start coming into the forefront of like, wow, this really shaped my path. And that campaign experience working for him and the things he let me do really helped to shape this experience. So I'm really sad and I really miss him. And I just got to attend his ceremony here at the Capitol in Washington, D.C., and I'll be at the memorial service back at ABT in Alaska this weekend. So I'm really thankful for all of that. The effect on this, I'm actually really upset about this, and I think every Alaskan should be. We know that ranked choice system was put in place by political operative Scott Kendall, who worked on Murkowski's write-in campaign and worked on her last campaign, and was put in place as an incumbent protection program for Lisa Murkowski because she did not want to go through the party primary process that she lost to Joe Miller.
Right.
And so this has been put in place, and as a result, we are going to be without somebody's replacement for Don Young for at least an extra 2 months. So let's keep that in mind. We would normally have had someone in Congress replacing Don Young and speaking up as our voice. We only have one around June of this year. But because of this ranked choice scenario, the earliest will be sometime in August. This is during the Biden administration, while Biden has issued and launched 22 direct executive actions against the people of Alaska in 1 year. Who knows how many there's going to be this year? And instead of having someone in Congress there to represent us, we're going to be voiceless and without representation for at least an extra 2 months, Joe Biden administration. Why? Because Lisa Murkowski's looking out for herself. Now, we are used to the lower 48, and particularly the bureaucrats in the Beltway in D.C., not paying any attention to us here in Alaska, not minding us, keeping us out of the conversation and forgetting about us. But it is particularly offensive when the person who's keeping us voiceless, suppressing us, and leaving us out of the conversation is our senior senator, Lisa Murkowski, because she's more interested in preserving her Murkowski monarchy.
Right. Any thoughts on the candidates that are up right now to fill Don Young's shoes? Do you have any favorites? Or anybody you're watching? You're just kind of watching it?
I know. I think I know all of these people, and I think highly of all of them, but we don't even know all the people who are in the race yet.
Right. Well, we won't know till Friday. But things are about to get interesting, especially with a full mail-in ballot for the whole special primary to begin with. There's a lot of angst about that.
Yeah, let me change my comment on that. I think highly of all the Republican candidates.
Okay.
Let me change my comment on that.
Okay. All right. We'll get that clarification in. All right. We've got about 5 minutes here. I want to touch on the obviously the war and the conflict in Ukraine is having obviously global ramifications. The U.S. has got to take their share of the blame on part of this. They've been kind of playing the dangle the NATO card with Ukraine for a long time, even though Ukraine was not eligible for NATO membership due to other treaties and things that have been signed and everything else. So we've got some angst in this for sure. But of course, the handling of it and everything else. Your thoughts on the foreign policy that led us to this, and where do we go from here? If you were the senator, what would you be advocating?
This is a very nuanced and complex topic that takes a lot more than 5 minutes. So I'll try and summarize it very quickly. What Vladimir Putin has done is absolutely unacceptable. And Joe Biden set the stage for this at the very beginning of his administration when he lifted the sanctions on Nord Stream 2 and put Vladimir Putin in charge of the energy mountain and gave him an iron fist of global dominance over energy by greenlighting Nord Stream 2 and shutting down all energy supply in America. So we were energy sufficient and energy dominant in America. We were fine a year and a half ago. But when he targeted Alaska and all these other states and shut us down, and said we're not going to be energy sufficient anymore, and we're going to bend our knee to Russia and Venezuela and Iraq and Iran and Saudi Arabia. He's the one who set the dominoes for all of this. And make no mistake, the person leading the charge on this energy annihilating agenda is Deb Haaland. And who put Deb Haaland in charge with the tie-breaking vote to advance this nomination? The senator from the energy state, Lisa Murkowski. So all of this was set up February 24th, 2021, when Lisa Murkowski said, I'm having misgivings about this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that's what got this mama bear off the sofa and said, you know what, I'm going to do something about this myself. So the way to reverse all of this is not to just say, you know, I'm upset and I'm going to go over to Poland and I'm going to say some stupid stuff about sending our troops into a war with Russia, which is what Joe Biden's doing.
Right.
The way to reverse all of this is to reverse what Deb Haaland is doing and put Alaska workers back to work and get our oil and gas industry up and running again so that we can start producing energy here in America, and we can reverse the sanctions on Nord Stream 2 need to go back into action and reverse Vladimir Putin's hold on global energy and get America back up and running so that we can start producing and exporting energy again.
I agree that this is at Putin's feet for sure, and it's much easier to shut energy projects off than it is to restart them. And that's part of the problem here is that it's going to take us a while to get this back up. And as you said, becoming energy self-sufficient again is going to be a mess of work. But it's something that we need to do as a country. Obviously, we could see being dependent on foreign countries for the majority of our energy is a mistake. And I would agree with that. Any comments on some of the different policy moves that have been happening here? You know, no-fly zones, engagement. Should we just be basically bolstering our NATO allies and providing just aid like we're doing now?
I don't think we should do anything that puts us into a war with Russia. And it seems like if Biden isn't reading the right note card, we're going to end up in a war with Russia. And instead, there are some really simple things that there was no way that this was going to happen under the previous president. There are simple economic ways and simple diplomatic ways that we can avoid escalating tensions with Russia. Here's another really simple way to think about it. I don't understand, and I don't think most Alaskans and Americans understand why we're trying to get involved in peacekeeping operations at Putin's border when we can't even manage our own border. We've got over 2 million illegal encounters at the border last year. We're looking at 2.5 to 3 million illegal encounters at our border this year. And we have reports of Russian and Chinese agents coming in through the Canadian border. Our borders are a mess here. Biden can't handle our border problem. Right. What gives us any confidence he's handling Putin's border problem? By the way, we all know here, Russia is our border. So Alaska's got a major national security issue that fundamentally comes down to an energy policy issue. Energy policy is the way to resolve this.
Kelly Tshibaka, Kelly4AK.com. Kelly, thanks for coming on board. We appreciate it. Folks, out of time. Kelly, I wanted to give you one final bite at the apple here. We just went to commercial break, hard break, top of the hour. But I want to give you the final bite. Something I didn't cover, anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to specifically hit on. I'll give you a couple minutes here to round things out for us here.
Michael, I'm just really thankful for the time and the opportunity to talk with the audience. We've got these municipality elections that are up in Anchorage, and we've got really great new candidates. I think that you're absolutely right to be saying it's time for a change, and so let's drive out the vote there. We're going to have a lot of voting this year, but we really need to make our voices known, and this is a team effort, and so I'm thankful for everybody who's listening, who's been part of our team. We definitely need more team help and momentum. You can join us at Kelly4AK.com. And we're coming up to the end of our fiscal deadline. Our quarter deadline is March 31st. So if you want to help, even $5 really helps out a lot. We've been traveling across Alaska. We've hit more than about 50 communities and connected with them, traveling more miles in state than it takes to circumnavigate the globe. But that's how you mobilize a grassroots effort. And your financial contributions help us do that. So please jump online and help donate. That really helps. And that's part of the reason those poll numbers look so great. So Kelly4AK.com, and make sure to get out the vote if you're in the municipality of Anchorage and vote for those new candidates so we can have a change there. Those are the two main things that are pressing for this week.
Yep. Change the players. That's the number one rule on our charter of changes. You can't get anything different. You can't expect different results if you keep sending the same players back over and over again. So I think you're right. I think it's time for a sea change. I hope that you and I are both correct in predicting that. And I look forward to seeing how things fare for you here in the general. I think you said it, where it's a marathon of elections this year. I just don't want people to get tired. You got to vote in June. You got to vote in August twice. You got to vote in the November. You got to vote in October in some of the municipalities. I mean, it's going to be a marathon, but you can't grow weary in well-doing. We've got to keep doing the right thing.
That's right. I completely agree with you. And if we do it, we will reap the rewards for years to come. That's what this is about.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly Tshibaka, Kelly4AK.com. Kelly, thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time with us, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks so much, Michael. Have a great day.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Kelly Tshibaka, our guest here on the program for Hour 1 of The Michael Dukes Show. All right. Well, I hope that I hope that we continue to get some traction here. I mean, I think it's pretty easy to see anybody who does any kind of analysis to look at the differences in the levels of support for Murkowski versus Tshibaka, who's got the support of Alaskans versus who's got the support of the good old boys club, the business as usual club. I mean, anybody that Mitch McConnell says, oh, this is the person that I want by my side, definitely the person that's not getting my vote. You know what I mean? Definitely the person who's not getting my vote on that. And when you see that her support is coming all from the business as usual club and the good old boys club, that should tell you something right there. When they are afraid of somebody like Kelly Tshibaka, there's a reason for it. I mean, and she's got the track record to prove it again with the IG's office and the whistleblower stuff and everything else. She's proven to us already with her track record that she's doing everything she can to demystify the government and to call onto the carpet those who are breaking the rules and taking advantage of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes down here. I definitely am. All right, Mike Shower is going to be joining us here in just a hot minute. But I do have a line. I have a line on hold. Wow, they've been on hold for over 20 minutes. Let's see who's on the phone, shall we? Just to see who's here, just for giggles. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Soldotna, Alaska, and my name is Donovan Fritz.
Hello, Donovan.
And I'm on my way to a rally at the Kenai Courthouse, and we're rallying in support of judicial justice in the judicial system.
Okay.
We believe that 2 felonies have been committed by Judge Green and Attorney General Skidmore in stopping the grand jury from performing their duties.
Okay.
And this is a sitting grand jury that's is seated right now, and they have prevented one of the grand jury, the grand jury foreman from presenting evidence of corruption in the judicial system. And we believe that they have both committed felonies, and we're going to rally in support of justice for a change in the judicial system.
Okay, and so this is happening at the courthouse there in Kenai. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it is. It's going to be going on at 7:30, and we're just thinking that it's about time we stand up and take charge of our judicial system. We think it's corrupt.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think so. And if they're corrupting the grand jury, that's even more troubling. I heard something about this earlier this week, but I don't have all the details. But I've got to go. I got to jump back onto the radio here. So 7:30, Kenai Courthouse, judicial protest there for the grand jury. Thank you for calling in and letting us know. You can let us know how this goes later on this week. Thank you so much. All right, Mike Shower is on the line with us right now, I believe. Mike, you there?
I am.
Okay, hold the line. We're going to be right back to you. We're coming back up into it. It is the Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We will continue with more here in just a moment. Please like and share this video, like and follow the show page, and we will continue right now. Here we go.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Across the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com. That's where you find us. Also on the TuneIn Radio app, CastBox, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcast, iTunes, the whole thing, and Spotify is where you'll find the podcast every day. And we're going to be uploading those shows every morning after the show. So make sure you join in on that. Hour 2 of the big radio broadcast, we just finished up with Kelly Tshibaka, who is a candidate for U.S. Senate. Good discussions with her, but it's Wednesday, and that leaves us into Hour 2, where our normal guest comes in to join us, and that would be State Senator Mike Shower for what we lovingly call the Shower Hour of Power, because, I don't know, poetry. It's one of the not that that's real poetry, but you know what I mean. So we're going to bring him on board this morning. We're going to get things started, and we'll do it right now. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm in Juneau. How are you doing?
Hey, don't worry. It's only day 73. Only another 123 days left, okay? Sorry, that was...
Thank you.
It was me being facetious.
That was actually very hurtful.
Yes, I know. That is it. The pain, Charlie, the pain. All right, so good morning and welcome to it. I guess lots of stuff happening, question mark, in Juneau? Because, we're not hearing much about, except for, of course, the House came out with their budget, which is $7 billion. But, of course, now they can't talk about it because everybody's got they got their panties in a bunch about whether somebody's wearing a mask or not and everything, which I'm trying to decide if it's a brilliant gamesmanship or just paranoia. And, of course, I really haven't heard anything about what's going on in the Senate, although I did hear some interesting things about some of the bills, like the tasting room and the tap room bill that's going on right now that's got a lot of people in an uproar. Some lies and deceptions were going on there. But really, we haven't heard anything else. I guess the first question I should ask, let me just make this easy. The first question I should ask is, has our Senate Majority Caucus had a meeting yet at day 72?
Nope.
Okay. I think that... And that's the show. Thanks so much for listening today, folks. That was pretty much
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. That pretty much sums up the entire scenario in one fell swoop. Not a single meeting yet of the Senate Majority Caucus. How's that working out for you, my friend? How's that non-binding, caucus of equals working out for you?
Well, the non-binding thing is nice for me at least.
True. I mean, true.
I know it's making it much harder for Senate Finance co-chairs who are used to being able to tell people how to vote and using the old tool of coercion with no problem, but that presents a problem for them when they can't do that anymore. So that certainly is changing the dynamics on the different tricks being used to get their own budget the way they want it. For example, as we have discussed on the program, let's say cutting funding from the MATSU for roads and other safety projects to try to force people to vote a certain way. Dole talked about that. So, is what it is, right? So we are waiting, apparently, for the House to eventually pass the budget, which they haven't. and you mentioned because of, another light head cold outbreak of the 69th version of, COVID we're dealing with. So there's that, which quite frankly, I've been talking to a few of the members, and, like I've seen Rep. McCabe and Rep. Carpenter in the last couple of days, and they both said, this is a cover for the House majority that does not have all of their members there available to them.
Right.
Because of the COVID masking, and they went all to some freaking whatever the heck that was, sham jam fundraiser.
It was the yam sham. It was a sham for yams, apparently, or something.
Yeah,
like
it was something, and they all went to that party at some club, bar thing, saloon here over the weekend, and super spreader event, whatever. I mean, that's a terrible thing, right? Because I used to be so mad if Republicans went to anything. I'm
right.
waiting for all of the press, from the ADN and Juneau Empire to talk about how bad the Democrats were for going to a super spreader event because we were so terrible and wanted grandma to die when we did, anything
right.
a year ago. So, I'm sure, Mike, we'll see those articles any minute.
Right.
From, the Anchorage Daily News editorial board talking about how bad those Democrat staffers were in Democrats. And I'm sure we'll see it any moment. I'm waiting.
I'm holding my breath. I'm holding my breath right now. It's going to come out
any second. We'll see them talk about the Democrats in the super spreader event. But, talking to some of the Republican minority in the House, what's really at play, of course, is the Democrats, and of course they'll get the press to help them, are trying to say that, it's the Republicans trying to stall. And I go, let's go point by point. First of all, the Republicans don't have the majority, and they don't control the committees, and they don't control the floor because that's all the House majority controlled by Democrats. So they can do whatever they want. But since a bunch of them have now cowered in fear over head cold in their offices and getting to work from home and hang out in apartments and do whatever they want, they don't have the numbers to control the floor votes. So there's enough Democrats with the House Republican minority to actually meet and have a quorum.
Right.
But the problem, Mike, and this is what it comes down to, this is one of the great lies that nobody will talk about, is that if they met right now, the Democrats would not have control of the floor because there would be more Republicans, and they would not be able to stop good amendments to the budget. They wouldn't be able to pass the budget they wanted. They would get their big bloated government budget and a small PFD.
Right.
That, brother, is what is going on. It has nothing to do with the mask. It has nothing to do with COVID. It has to do with, because of that, there are not enough Democrats to control the floor. So don't buy for 1 second that it has anything to do with the Republicans, because they don't control it or the flow of business or when they meet or how they do it. That is the House Democrats.
Right. In all fairness, Nat Hurst actually does mention this in his article, that with only 21 members in the chamber and the majority, it's a bare minimum of votes, and having members out sick jeopardizes the ability to block hostile amendments from the 18-person Republican minority. And so he does mention it in passing. But what you're saying is essentially this is kind of any port in a storm. If it hadn't been a mask thing with Kirka and Eastman and Carpenter, it would have been some reason for her to adjourn the meeting overall, because, again, they're afraid of that 18-member Republican minority coming in and having the votes maybe all alone, or maybe by being able to sway one member out of the majority to be able to take control of this and have some amendments go in and stick. And that's really what the problem is.
That is exactly what the problem is. It has nothing to do with masks. They would find another reason. It would be, name it, Mike. I don't know. There would be something. There always is. They would find a way to, they would blame David Eastman for, a hostile. I mean, listen to the language. I mean, good on Nat for at least mentioning it, in his article.
But the hostile amendments, I mean, they're not just amendments, they're hostile amendments.
That's my point. If the Republicans controlled it and the Democrats had amendments and the same thing was happening, it would be like, well, the Democrats just want to offer some amendments to the budget. They wouldn't use words like hostile. So again, it's pretty normal to see the bias coming out, but don't be fooled by what's happening. What's happening right now is a delay tactic to ensure that the Democrats can get away, the majority of them anyways. Actually, I go back to, I hate always brushing the entire group, because there are some Democrats that, would prefer a higher PFD, whether that's their philosophical viewpoint, whether, it's because it's election year and they're afraid of their chances, whatever it is. I mean, there's some Democrats in the House who would like to see it too. So I still contend there are more than 20 votes for a statutory PFD, but whether or not the powers that be that have too much control, that's the question, right, for the House, whether they're even going to allow it to come up or they're going to shove it down people's throats, because they do have a binding caucus. But quite frankly, this gets more tenuous later in the year, because who cares about a binding caucus when you're at the end of the 2-year session, right?
Right.
I mean, it's over. Your chairmanship doesn't mean anything in the next few weeks. It all shuts down, and there's no more personal bills, and it's pretty much done. So you're going to have a new organization next year after the election anyway. So why would you care about a binding caucus, right? So I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it is interesting. I would hope that there would be, talked to Kevin on Monday, and he said, be looking out for more calls for the full PFD on the floor from the minority, giving the majority a chance to break with each other if they need to, if they feel like they can vote for it. But I mean, it's a hot mess, man. Have you had a chance to take a look at what's being proposed so far from the House Finance Committee as far as the budget goes? I mean, again, going from $4.5 billion in annual spend to just a hair under $7 billion, including $582 million for paying the full tax credits and $1.2 billion going into forward funding. I mean, we can't have dedicated funds in this state, but we can sure designate the hell out of some funds for sure, because that splitting of that hair is not even – I mean, this is crazy.
Oh, Mike, look, designated funds are dedicated funds. It's just the standard political lie. You can sit there and say, it's not dedicated, it's designated. It's spelled differently, therefore it is not a dedicated fund. Oh, okay, sure. And, of course, the Supreme Court goes, well, you're the lawmakers, you can do whatever you want. You don't have to follow the law. We've clearly established that with court precedents.
Right, exactly.
That makes it easy.
Exactly.
Right? So, yeah, I have been watching it. I would imagine that the forward funding, I hope, is not going to survive the Senate, because we went through this battle a couple of years ago with the governor, and that is a nightmare for us. And my question is, again, if you're going to continue to set things apart, like education, so you're telling me that it is more important to forward fund education, but isn't DPS also very important, public safety? What about the Department of Corrections? I mean, Mike, we could go down this list and go look at all these other departments. They're so important. What about health and social services? I mean, obviously people's health is very important. Maybe we should forward fund that. We should forward fund everything. What's happening, Mike, is this is an election year, and it's called bribery. It's bribery with government money. They're going to bribe people for votes, just like they're going to try to bribe people with some ridiculous concept of an energy rebate deal, right? Oh, we're not going to give you, if you're a full PFD, we're not even going to give you a 50-50 PFD. We're going to give you an energy rebate, though. Wink, wink. Please vote for me. And, oh, by the way, we're going to take care of those big, powerful teacher unions, that everybody's afraid of, because we're going to forward fund education. So don't worry about, Mike, the whole thing is a sham. Talk about a sham jam. The whole freaking thing is a sham jam on how we play this game. So don't tell me that this is all about doing the right thing or anything else. This is all about taking government money, spreading it around, and getting as many people as you can to vote for you, because you can use government money to do it. I hope the Senate will shoot that down, because we should not be putting any program or department on a pedestal over the others. Every year, every single department should have to come back to us and go, here's what my budget needs to be, and here's why. And we should have that debate.
What?
If we're going to go to forward fund education, brother, then we ought to be doing a 2-year budget cycle. Period.
Right. I mean, shouldn't they
across the board?
Shouldn't they have to justify every dollar spent every year, just like every other department? Or for some reason they're special? They're they're the special, super secret, special squirrels.
They're special because they have whole thousands of employees and a big union that holds a lot of weight on people's election chances, Mike, and it shows the power and control of big unions. I've told you, we've talked about this many times. This state is nearly run by those special interests and big unions. They control the flow of money. They control things that happen in the legislature. They control legislators' futures, right? Whether they get elected or not. We've talked about this with, like campaign finance reform stuff. Look what unions can do compared to others. They give their union members paid time off and paid leave to go out and campaign and knock doors in neighborhoods and hold signs. Paid leave.
Right.
Well, Republicans don't get that kind of benefit. They collect union dues whether members want it or not and spend it on multiple PACs for the candidates that they support. They have unlimited money for IEs that they can oppose or support the candidacy. Well, they have all kinds of advantages and power, and everybody just looks at it and shrugs their shoulders like, oh, well, this is what it is,
All right, well, you're going to tell us how you really feel in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. State Senator Mike Shower is joining us. It is the Shower Hour of Power. On this Wednesday edition of the Michael Duke Show, we'll be back with more with Senator Shower in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
All right, we're in the break right now. Senator Shower is our guest here. Donna Ardwin's in the chat room. She says departments are required by law to justify their spending requests annually, but they don't. What? I mean, what? I mean, shouldn't, wait a minute, what?
Spoken from somebody that was in the battle, Mike.
I know. I mean, so my question is, why aren't we holding them accountable? I mean, if that's the law, if they're required by law to justify their spending requests annually, what is it? Just because the legislature said, "Oh no, don't worry about it, that's fine," then it just doesn't have to happen?
You know how they justify it, Mike? Here's how it plays out. So let's talk about the reality. The committee chairs in both the House and the Senate Finance will have all of those subcommittees, right? You could have a year like this one where the operating finance co-chair says, "Not going to have any meetings." And some of the finance members go, "I'm not doing that. That's ridiculous. Of course we're going to have meetings." But every department will come in and give its prepared briefing and PowerPoints and say how they need this money and this is good and this is what we're doing and yay us. There goes the rah-rah, with pom-poms. And therefore, they have briefed and justified their spending. They won't get many questions. In a year like this one, it just kind of mostly goes right on through. The co-chairs are going to pretty much do whatever they want with the budget anyways, no matter what the subcommittees say. That good old wink, wink, bite at the apple. Remember we talked about that?
Right.
Oh, you get a binding caucus is fine.
Hey, you got your bite at the apple in committee. Yeah. You should just shut up and sit down and vote like we tell you to.
Yeah, I mean, don't mention the fact that there's 12 committees and you're only on 3 or 4 at best, and the rest of the budget, but don't worry about that. We'll take good care of you. Wink, wink, right? That's the process, Mike. So right there, Donna's right. Are they really justifying the spending? Are they really going through an audit and sitting down? No, they're not. But they can legally say it because they go, well, we briefed the budget subcommittees in the House and the Senate Finance. And we gave you all of our documentation. It's all right there. And the legislators go, see, we did our job. We vetted it. We asked a couple of really tough questions about, how you guys doing this year?
Right.
Do
you have enough paper clips? Do you, did your copier machine get restocked this year? Okay, you've justified it to us. We're ready to go.
And yes, I'm being a bit facetious because, the work is done. But my point is, to Donna's point, is that, that will be the answer for anybody that tried to challenge it and say, well, they're not justifying their budget. They'll say, no, we have the subcommittees, and they come in and brief us, and we ask some questions, and we look at the paperwork, and we look at all the budget requests they have, and everything's good. That will be the answer. And as far as the system is concerned, that's good enough. There's your answer.
I've got to tell you that answer is not satisfying. I'm just going to throw that out there. That's
right. So instead of the Crystal Burger, you need the Big Mac.
Yeah, no, exactly. I need the
White Castle.
Yeah, the White Castle. I've never had White Castle, so I don't know what it is. But I mean, I know what it is, but I've never had it. I was just thinking of the McDougal's from Coming to America, whatever they call it, the Big Mick. That's what I need is the Big Mick. All right. Well, we're about 60 seconds out. I don't really want to get you wound up again because I'll never be able to jump back to the radio properly. So hold the line for me for just a second. I know your ways, Shower. I know how you are. State Senator Mike Shower is our guest. We don't have any hard-boiled projects or bills or anything else that we can talk about specifically right now because we're kind of in limbo. We're waiting for everything to come down. There's going to be there's going to be a hearing on the bill, the spending bill in the Senate, but that's not happened yet. The House is going first. We'll try and talk with Senator Shower here in just a second about what he thinks is coming out, what he's seeing so far coming out of the Senate Finance Committee. But I'll just, here's a sneak peek for you. It ain't going to be good. It's not going to be what we're looking for. It's not going to be for smaller, more limited government. It's not going to be for a full PFD. It's going to be for protect the government spend and throw the private economy under the bus because screw those people. That's what, I mean, I think that I just put words in his mouth, but I think that just is going to summate what we're looking for. All right, we're going to talk about this and more with Mike Shower up next, The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. Okay, all righty. We're ready to do it. It is the Michael Duke Show. And State Senator Mike Shower is our guest for the Wednesday edition of the Shower Hour of Power. So we were just talking about the House bill, $7 billion. $7 billion. And not a thing about the regular permanent fund in there. No capital projects or anything else. Oh, but they got that energy relief that has nothing to do with the PFD energy relief check in there. Ivy Sponholz is very clear on that. It has absolutely nothing to do with the PFD. But even with that, between the energy rebate check and the energy relief check and the $1,250 dividend that they're proposing, we're still about $1,500 shy of a regular full dividend. I don't know what the Senate is doing. Mike, you've got your ear to the ground there, I'm sure. What is it going to look like? What's it going to look like from the Senate side?
Well, let me finish one thought before we go into that, and I'll answer that question
regarding
unions, because if I don't, I continue to get lambasted by the press saying I'm anti-union. Stop the lies. I'm in a union. I've been in a union since I've been an airline pilot. I understand the usefulness of unions. I've had them protect me once when I had management at Delta for a while, try to come after me for living in Alaska. So don't tell me anything about being anti-union. I'm not. But I also understand very clearly, especially at the top, that they are political. They're political monsters. They're all about power, and they will do whatever it takes to get and keep power. So they have unusual advantages over most people because they get to collect money from people whether they want it or not, and then they get to pretty much do whatever they want with that money, including having those seats of power. So that's the problem. It's not unions per se, and it's not union members per se. Excuse me. It is what the people at the top do with that power. All right, enough said. So going on to your question about what I think the Senate will do, hopefully, one, we'll strip out forward funding for education so we can do it the right way. We don't need to be doing that and playing this game. We already did this before. It was a big legal battle nightmare. Stop the madness, number one. Number two, I'm actually okay with taking some of the money that we have right now that we didn't anticipate having and paying off those credits. You know, that's kind of like, Mike, when you get a bonus or something, it's nice to pay down some of your debt and bills that you have. So that's not necessarily something I would oppose. I just need to see the particulars and how the things balance out. But I am a fan of paying off some debt and bills if we can't afford to, and it makes sense.
Okay, side note, we're going to come back and fight about that here in a minute. Go ahead.
That's fine. Good. We finally get to disagree and argue. So we'll see what happens with that. The capital budget, I wouldn't be opposed if we plus up some of that because we are behind. on many of those things. And again, if we have money available, we didn't anticipate, I wouldn't be opposed to putting more into it, but I haven't seen where that's going to go. And then you talked about the PFD. I still contend that there is more than 21, or at least 21 and 11 in both bodies to pass, if not a statutory PFD, doggone close to it. I just see the votes for it. People keep trying to say there aren't, but I got to tell you, when I'm watching the operating co-chair and House Finance put in a full PFD amendment, and Finance, I see members that like Rasmussen, that's off to the side, not at any caucus, who supports it. You know, you got people like Josiah who support it. And then, of course, you have most, if not all, of the House Republican, minority now supporting it in one form or another for whatever reason. So the House is the most contentious one. I think we have the votes in the Senate, pretty sure, for 11 plus for a full PFD this year, knowing where we sit on the money scale of how much is available. So the question is, you know, how it will play out between the House and the Senate, of course, and then who's on the conference committee, because that's always really the issue, right? Because you're going to have Stedman and Bishop, and they've never supported a full PFD. So that's going to be an interesting battle because, you know, are they going to follow the will of the Senate and what we vote for, or are they going to go their own way? And that'll be interesting to watch.
Wait. We were assured by the Senate president that they were going to put the will of the Senate majority ahead, the caucus ahead of their own personal. We were assured by the Senate president that that's going to happen.
We also were assured, Mike, that our priority bills wouldn't sit, and that hasn't happened either. We were assured of a lot of things. You know, so that I will use the old Ronald Reagan, what we used the F-22 test world for operational tests, is trust but verify, right? I'm not sure about the trust piece, but still I'll be verifying those words, and we'll see. But that will be a key. I think it's very likely the first conference committee will fail to achieve balance or an agreement that everyone will agree to, especially if the Senate votes with a larger number percentage-wise for a full PFD or a higher one, and the House doesn't concur, and we can't get there in the conference committee, then there may be another one, and that will be more interesting because who sits on that will probably determine how it plays out. So that could be interesting to watch. And, of course, there will be amendments that will come out in both bodies, you know, for reducing some of the funding. There won't be the votes probably for that in the House. There might be for some of that in the Senate. So, you know, it's hard to tell, brother, what the numbers are going to be. But a lot of it, regardless of what we do, will come down to the conference committee because they won't be the same. And then you're going to have 6 people again making the decision for everybody. And they'll come back and see if they can make any kind of agreement. So we're a few weeks out from that, obviously. But the House won't be taking anything up this week like we had hoped. That'll be next week now. And I think the legislature shuts down this Friday because of everybody, probably, you know, half the legislators or more going back to go to Don Young's funeral in Anchorage. So there's that.
Right.
So in the week after that, or 2 weeks later is Easter weekend, which I think is a Thursday, Friday off or a Friday off. So, you know, there's breaks in there anyway. So it's like, so, you know, it's going to be weeks still, man. We're going to be right back at the end of April with we got to hurry up, pass the budget. You know, we had a lot of briefings for the first 2 months, you know, and now we got to hurry up and pass it, which is the MO it seems to always be.
Right.
Which is pretty normal. So, okay, so that's my prediction of kind of where we are and what I think may happen. And, of course, that last piece of that before we argue about whatever it is you want to argue about is the statutory change, the fiscal policy working group. There's a push to try to do pieces or parts of that, but I think as much as I would like to say we could solve it, and I think there is some possibility of some of that, you know, the fiscal policy working group came out together and agreed unanimously on these parts that you had to have, as you know, we talked about it before, to get enough people to join the effort to vote for changing the current constitutional spending cap, but some taxes went with that. They were tied together, right? So one group that wanted taxes didn't get left behind if there was a spending cap and vice versa. Same thing for the PFD, not putting the formula in, but guaranteeing it and then having the vote of the people and then changing the statutory formula of being tied together. If one didn't pass, the other didn't. And we're close on some of those, but I don't think we're going to be able to get enough agreement in the House for sure to do all of those together. And I don't know if we could do the PFD alone because then some people want the taxes. And so I don't know. It's going to be tough for us to solve this. And I think we're going to go back to what I've said all along if we fail to do this, the people are going to say to heck with it, and they're going to vote for a constitutional convention because the legislature is just going to keep taking the PFD. It's going to keep growing the budget. It's going to take care of special interests and unions, and then, the people are just going to go, well, we don't trust you to do this. And there's statutory change suggested for a lot of it, but some of us laugh and go, yeah, right. Like, we're going to follow the statutes, right? Sorry, guys. None of us believe that anymore. And that's the fault of the legislature and previous governor for not following the law, governors and legislatures. So anyways, there you go. I mean, that's a summary of everything all together.
Okay. So you ready to duke this out?
Just duke it out.
Yeah.
Come on. No pun intended. Bring it.
Right. Duke it out. So this idea that we should pay back the credits all at once. I find it objectionable, and you talk about winning the lottery or having a windfall or whatever, and that's a good time to retire debt. And in general, I would agree with that sentiment. But here we already have a statutory mechanism for paying this back. At the current rate, current statutory rate, we'll be paying it back in about 5 years overall. It's between, $75 and $90 million a year roughly is what we've been paying it back at.
I think the payment should be about 140 a year or something, but yeah, whatever.
Whatever it is. It's going to be just within the next 5 years at the current rate, it would be paid off. Essentially we have a $0, we've got a 0%, loan. The money is, if we're holding on to the money, we're making money with it. You know what I mean? We're earning interest. We're doing something good with that money. If we take it out and pay it all at once, which we're not required to do, statute says you can just pay it off on a yearly basis. Yeah. There are other things that you could do with that money, whether that's putting it towards a full PFD, whether it's putting that money into the capital projects, like you said, to take care of deferred maintenance and some other things. I mean, there are things that could be done with that money, and it's not costing us money. The lost opportunity cost of using that money in the short term is definitely wasted by paying it all back. Now, great, it'd be off the books, it would be out of your hair, it would be off your shoulders, but it's not costing us anything. If we hold on to it, it costs us, again, the opportunity costs as well as potential for interest and everything else if we held on to it and used it for other things. And to me, if you said that, it said, hey, you could retire $50,000 of your debt right now, but it's basically interest free and you're already paying it every year anyway. And you could be using it for other things in the short term to help build your wealth or do what else and take care of your family. I would go the second route. It's a $0. Why wouldn't I do that? Well, go ahead.
There's pros and cons of both, Mike, like you said, and that's why I use the words very carefully. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. That didn't say I necessarily supported it either. It said the details matter, right? So I know, talking to Rep. Carpenter, who had looked at it, I believe last year, we were discussing those because, and I'll have to go back and ask him again and get the details. But it was something like, it was actually going to save us if we paid it off. And it was a little higher a year or two ago, last time we talked about it, but it was going to save us like $50 million a year to pay it off. And that's not much in the scheme of things, but it was getting it, it's like paying your credit card off, every month at, $25 minimum payment, which takes you 800 years to pay it off if you had a $20,000 balance, or you pay it all off at once and save the interest. It was something like that, but I'm not going to hang my hat on that. I'll ask him, and I'll try to remember to update on you next week on that.
Okay.
That being said, if you have the money available, here's my point. Right now, there's so much money available right now, Mike, we can do just about all these things. We can pay it statutory PFD. We can pay off some or all of the oil tax credits. We could do all of these things. We could put some money into the corpus, or we should put money back into the CVR. We can do all of those things right now because we have so much. And my kind of mindset is, before we blow it and double fund or forward fund everything and come up with a bunch of other programs and put another, 4, 6, 8, 12 billion like Stedman wanted to do to hide it away in the corpus and not let people get any of it. We could do all of these things right now from the numbers I have seen. Now, I'm not allowed to be on finance, obviously, to get every detail, but we certainly pay attention. So we could do all of that right now, Mike, and I'm kind of a fan, and this is why I say generally, I'm kind of a fan of doing a lot of these things while we have it, because if we don't, and we just keep it in the coffers here until next year and the oil price drops, you know exactly what we'll do with it. You know what we'll do. We'll waste it or spend it on government programs or do whatever, and then we'll come back next year and tell you, we can't afford the PFD. we can't afford this, but we got to take care of government because, look how, we missed a paycheck. Oh, wait a minute. No, we didn't. Our programs aren't fully funded. Oh, wait, yes, they are. And they're getting more. But that will be the battle, right? Like right now, everybody's stumbling over so much money. They're tripping over it, piles of it sitting around the legislature. So let's do something useful with it. So when the oil price drops next year or the year after, we're not having to fight for some of these things. It makes it hard for them to justify. No, look, you put money away, you inflation proof. You put money back into CPR. You paid off the oil tax credits. And so we can absolutely afford that TFD at whatever we've changed it, if we've changed it, or what the people demand in a constitutional convention. And the arguments get harder, Mike. The more bills and things we have out there, the less inflation proofing, the CBR staying empty. It's justification for those that want to spend that money on government and don't want to pay a dividend. So just things to think about, counter arguments, thoughts.
All right. I'll let you get that last word in for this segment then. We're coming up on the break, and we're going to continue. State Senator Mike Shower is our guest. One final segment coming up, and we're going to give him his head here. We're going to let him take the reins and talk about whatever it is that he wants to talk about, updates or thoughts or meanderings or bacon. I don't know, whatever he wants to talk about. That's coming up next, The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Michael Duke Show. Of course, on YouTube and Twitch TV as well. And don't forget the podcasts are available every day. We'll be back with more and State Senator Mike Shower right after these messages.
Your mental suppository. The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the break right now, and Mike Shower is our guest, and we're going to continue with him here right now. So how's that wisdom teeth extraction looking? That's looking pretty good compared to what you're doing right now, right? I know you've been thinking about that the whole time here. So what? I'm sorry. What else is happening, Mike? What are you doing in your spare time down there while you're waiting for the caucus to meet and for all the different committees to actually come together and get something done? Are you basically in hurry up and wait mode, or is your committee doing anything with bills right now?
Yeah, we're still hearing the bills. I think I have the most bills of any committee. So, and I only get 2 days a week to meet. I was telling you about that. I had to laugh because a certain blogger put an article about how my committee was struggling. I'm like, struggling? I'm like, I've done more bills than anybody. I've actually done more Democrat bills at this point than anybody else, to be fair. And that's every other committee. And I only get to meet 2 days a week. Finance has done less bills than me by a lot, and they meet 5 days a week. Other committees get to meet 3 days a week. They've done less bills. So how is my committee struggling? It's like that kind of ridiculously biased reporting, right? Just to throw a point out. So,
right.
No, we're still meeting. I still got plenty of bills. There's no way I'm going to get to them all. I can't. I mean, at 2 days a week, I can do at best maybe 3 or 4 bills a day. When I get to meet for an hour and a half, and sometimes the bill ends up taking like half of that time by itself because of questions, and that's just the way it goes, right? So there's no way I'm going to get to them all. I've tried to make sure everybody at least gets a bill or two because, I actually like to be fair and try to follow the uniform rules as opposed to, let's say, a representative like Sarah Hannon, who says, send the bills to me, send Shower's bill to me so I can not hear it, which is a violation of the uniform rules, which are actually stronger than statutes because it's Constitution, uniform rules, and statutes in that order. But, hey, we're not going to say anything about that. That's A-OK. If a Democrat wants to break the rules, who am I to judge? I mean, there was the small thing about impugning my motives by saying that I only filed the bill for votes in an election year. But, hey, that's okay, too. We can do that. But if I'm not going to hear any of their bills, oh, my God, you're shutting it down and you're just causing it as terrible. And these bills are very important. Of course, all of a sudden, Mike, the left is up in arms about how important campaign finance is. They didn't care one iota about it last year. But now it is a big, big deal. better get on that one, right? So,
right. Yeah, I know.
Noted. It's funny. They're all Democrat bills, and all of a sudden it's really, really important. I'm like, I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
Do you perhaps perceive advantage for yourself with that kind of finance reform? I don't know.
Speaking of uniform rules and everybody being treated fairly, how's that subpoena coming for you for that election report?
I have no subpoena.
Oh, okay. So
I know Senator Natasha von Imhoff has like 11 subpoenas signed off by leadership for the hunt after whatever happened with her friend Angela Rodell and the Alaska Permanent Fund Corporation Board.
No, it's not her friend, man. It's not her friend. It's just a work acquaintance. It's just somebody I know from work. They're not a friend.
Whatever.
We don't spend any time together, especially not at an opera or a show. We don't do that. We don't talk to each other and say things like, you're the man or you're cool or anything. We don't know any. It's just a friend from work. Come on, Mike.
Yeah, well, you asked the question, and no, I don't have a subpoena, but she has one and $100,000 to chase after people for this, and I can't get one to solve an issue that's important to most Alaskans for the entire state, which is, the security of our election system. But whatever, man, that just shows, again, like the webs that are woven and how deeply entwined things are, and not necessarily in a good way. So what do you want me to say? That's the way the system is stacked.
Sorry, you didn't hear my sarcasm font on all that stuff. I apologize.
I think I did.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to point out how your caucus of equals is working out so well, and the president. Is that a term for life there? I mean, is he a president for life, or how long until somebody else can take some reins there and make that happen? I'm asking for a friend because
I'm not taking your bait. Because there's probably only 60 seconds left, and I'm going to start talking. You're going to say, I got to be quiet.
62 seconds till we rejoin the radio now. Yeah, I know. I just, I'm getting you there. All right. We're going to rejoin the radio now, and Senator Shower is smart enough to not take my bait. He didn't take my fake out, my split S that he's, no, not buying into that. So we're going to jump back into this here in just a second. All right, folks, please like and share this video, like and follow the show page, and we'd love to hear what you have to say. Send us an email, me@michaeldukeshow.com, me@michaeldukeshow.com, or just sound off in the chat room. We'd love to hear what you have to say there as well. Looking forward to seeing what this next year brings, but we're going to finish up here with State Senator Mike Shower. Up next, again, going to let him kind of take the reins and talk about, well, whatever he wants to talk about. Like and share, like and follow, subscribe, ring the bell. Let's do it. Okay, hey, hi, how are you? Welcome back. One final segment of the show here for Wednesday. Coming up tomorrow, we're going to be, I'm working on some guests, but I guess I shouldn't pre-tease because then, inexorably it goes badly because I thought they were going to show up. So I'm not going to tell you who I'm working on but I am working on guests for tomorrow, and I'm working on guests for Friday. I will tell you that I'm working on Dr. John Lott to come on the show Friday to talk with us about some firearm stuff. I'm kind of confident that that's going to, I feel like I'm semi-confident that that's going to happen. Let me tell you what I'm really confident in. If you have an emergency, somewhere out there in the world, whether it's a car wreck or a, earthquake, or you're out on the trail, you're hunting, you're fishing, you're hiking, you're biking, you're snow machining, you're flying, you're kayaking, you're paragliding, you're sailing, you're spelunking, whatever it is. I am very confident that having a bivy stick with you is probably the best thing you can do. It's the best insurance, and it's cheap insurance. $199 gets you this little device called the bivy stick. which connects to your cell phone via Bluetooth. You got a little app for it, and it turns your cell phone into a satellite communications device. So regardless of where you are, as long as you can see that slice of sky, you can send a text message or an email to your friends, family, relatives, contact list, your mayor, your whoever it is that you want to send it to, and tell them, this is where I am and this is what's going on. You could set it to automatically drop pins for wherever you're going. So if you're traversing or trekking, you're trekking across the wilderness on foot or on a vehicle of some kind, it will drop a pin on your map every 10 minutes, every 8 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever. It will tell people where it is that you are and what's happening and where you're going. And it could also be used to check in with your friends and family. If you're out hunting or whatever, and you just push the button, it says, hey, everything's good to go. All things are green. 12 o'clock and all is well. Whatever you want to put in the text message, and it drops a pin of your location every time you push it. If you're in an emergency, it's got a little red button. You push it, and it says, help me, I've fallen, and I can't get up, and here's where I am. Plus, it does things like weather forecasts, regular forecasts, aviation forecasts for pilots, marine forecasts for mariners, whatever weather you're looking for, it's got it on there. It's got a mapping thing, and it takes care of things like cellular congestion or cell towers going down because of some kind of natural disaster or anything else. Having this bivy stick in your pocket is the best insurance. $199 a month. $14 is the lowest. It's the emergent, what I call the safety plan. And you can use those if you don't use any of those credits that month. You can roll them over. I got one for my wife, throw in the glove box of her car just in case something happens. She can just turn it on and send me a message or what. And it lasts for 5 days on a single charge. So 5 days of continuous usage, yes, sir. Just do it for me. So it doesn't matter if you're a hunter, or fisherman, or snow machiner, doctor, tow truck driver, soccer mom, Avon lady, whatever. You need a bivy stick. Contact your local dealer by going to satellitewest.com, clicking on Bivy, or just go to your local dealer at Arctic Fire and Safety in Fairbanks, South Central Radar on the Spit in Homer, Safe and Sound in Wasilla, Anchorage, or Soldotna, Radar Alaska and Kodiak, Communications North in Seward, and Lundy Marine Electronics in Dutch Harbor. Thank you for being a sponsor of the program. That is to Bivy Stick, B-I-V-Y, Bivy Stick. Mike Schauer, our guest, final segment, his thoughts on everything that's happening. We give you the floor, my friend. Take it away. Just wow us. Just do it. Yeah.
Right, yeah. I don't know if I can wow anybody anymore with all this silliness, but I will tell you one that's interesting is over the weekend, I think Friday, the Alaska Watchman put out an article, and it had some incorrect information in it, got picked up by the Gateway Pundit, so it went national, and I got not by name, but by committee, an honorable mention. So I've had a whole bunch of angry people calling up and going, how come you're sitting on the bill? And, we're going to hand the election over to the Democrats. I'm like, what? Where'd this come from? I'm getting all this at Sunday, right? And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so it took me a little bit of time. I figured it out. I'm like, oh, I see what you did there. So the way they wrote that article and the impression out there is that for this special election in June, you're going to have, we're not going to do signature verification and it's going to be illegal and going to hand over. I'm like, guys, you might want to call me before you put the article out because we are going to have, and I've asked flat out, Governor and Lieutenant Governor's office, are we going to follow the law as it's currently written? And the answer so far has been yes. Remember in November of 2020 for that election, you had one activist judge off the bench rewrote our election law and canceled witness signatures. The only thing we had as a cross-check for absentee and mail-out ballots. And that opinion was only for that election. So we're back to, even though they're going to mail out ballots for this election because they're saying they will not be ready in time. And as you and I talked last week, there's something behind that. It's going to be difficult to be ready for this, but we weren't even going to be ready for August, in my opinion, quite frankly, for a statewide jungle primary and ranked choice voting event. But for this one, there will be witness signatures required, right? So that hasn't changed. That's the law. And they're telling me they're going to follow it. There is no provision or equipment or training or anything we have signature verification. Anchorage uses signature verification, but they give some training to people and they rely on people to do it. We all know not very reliable, right? Because they're not experts. They just get some training and go forth and prosper. So to do the request for proposal and buy the equipment and train people and be ready in the next, 50 days, yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not the way the government works. So we could potentially have it by August. I actually have it in the bill that I'm working on, that bipartisan bill. There is the provision to buy and use signature verification equipment for absentee and mail-out ballots that are used. So we're getting there. But when Don Young dies in office, as many of us were afraid he would, because he decided to keep running, and the timing is never good, but this was, you couldn't have had a worse time.
Right.
With a RCV event coming up, ranked choice voting and jungle primary, that we've never used. So now you've got 2 months to scramble and get ready, Mike. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So there's no way to get there from here. In that particular case, the one good thing, perhaps two good things, is that it's just a jungle primary for one race in June. So it's going to be one page with one set of bubbles for the 15 or 20 people that are going to be on it. And you only have to fill one bubble in, right? Because all you get to do for the primary is your favorite person. So you get to pick one person, whoever that is. You fill out that bubble and you give them, you turn it in. That's it. So at least this one will be simple compared to the actual jungle primary and ranked choice voting event in August. And that's going to be a nightmare, but we'll talk about that later. So
yeah, no, and again, to clarify here, you're talking, there's two different things. There's the witness signature, and then there's signature verification. Witness signature is going to appear on these ballots. There's going to have to be a witness signature. But the verification, there's no provision in state law for verifying the witness signature. That's what they were talking about.
That's correct, and we've never done that, but they're conflating them, and we know it's important, so we're proposing it, and we're going to have to spend money on it. But until we get the bill passed, signed into law, they go through the RFP and do all the stuff you have to do, well, that's not going to be available. Well, nobody knew we were going to have to do this in June, right?
Right.
So we were thinking, oh, yeah, we'll get the bill passed hopefully here in the next month. We'll get governor to sign it into law. Then we'll have a few months to do RFPs, get everything up and trained. Maybe we'll be ready by August, if not November, right? But that's the best we can do on the timelines we work on. Mike, it's government. Come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not going to move that fast. There's just no way to be ready in that amount of time.
It's like expecting the Titanic to turn like a Ferrari. It's just not going to happen. Right.
And then the other part was they talked about, well, like my committee is sitting on Senate Bill 167, which is the governor's election bill. Didn't bother to call and ask. That election bill, Mike, has all the stuff that I had in SB 39, right? And SB 39 wasn't going to move. I've talked about House members like Harriet Drummond that were in the press in Anchorage saying his bill's dead on arrival. That's the stuff that Mike's bill has. They actually said that they got it wrong because they said the lieutenant governor filed the bill, which he can't do. The governor files bills, but whatever, a technicality. And I'm not sitting on the bill. We're working with the governor on things that we might put into it or how that bill might be used, because if the reason that bill's sitting because he has a companion bill in the House that will never move.
Right.
Because it had my bill, and remember that was the racist bill, right? That was trying to suppress the vote.
All right.
So it's not going to sit, brother. It's there's nothing you can do with that bill. So, anyways, it was just funny. People need to hear the truth. It's doing the best they can. We're watching it. If we think there's something illegal, we'll call it out. But as far as I can tell right now, they're doing the best they can within the constraints, and none of this is going to be good.
Trust but verify. Trust but verify. All right, Mike Shower, our guest. Thank you, my friend. Folks, be kind, love one another. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. Man, vaccinated with a phonograph needle. Just wind you up and watch you go. All right.
You can do this for hours.
I know you can. That's the thing. It's impressive. For a radio guy, that's impressive to watch. All right. Final thoughts. I give you the last, I don't know, I'd say 2 minutes, but that really won't matter. I give you the floor here for the last couple minutes to sound off to people, to tell everybody what we should be doing. What should we be doing? How should we be helping? What do we need to do?
You still need to call. You still need to testify if there's a bill coming up on the finance floor or, whatever. They are relying on you to be beaten down and give up. And then they take that as, we can do whatever we want. So you should still be calling in if you're angry. If you don't like this bill or that bill, the budget, call in, testify, folks, because when you don't, I know you don't think it matters, but that just gives them all the justification they used to see. People don't care about the PFD anymore. They don't care about the budget. They don't call in. Well, yeah, you're all working, but whatever. One last very important thing to mention, and Michelle was reminding me, is that there's the vote coming up in Anchorage here in a couple days. Go vote, because your city is controlled by 9 now probably 10, since they created an extra district for themselves, 10 far-left activists. So if you want to ever take Anchorage back and have reasonable policies, go vote. Take a friend with you. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm just telling you there is a election coming up in the 5th of April, final day. So, if you don't like the direction Anchorage is going, get off the bench and go vote and take some people with you. So I can't say anything more important in the next week than that, to get people out and vote and hopefully, look at some positive change for Anchorage.
All right. Well, I appreciate you calling, my friend. That is good. Somebody in Twitch just said, please stop saying centrist Democrats are far-left activists. Well, I mean, I guess if the folks on the Anchorage Assembly are centrist Democrats, I mean, that doesn't speak.
Who is saying that they are centrist Democrats? They are freaking far left. Not all of them, but most of them.
A big chunk of them are far left for sure. You got to understand. Maybe you got to understand the local politics here, but I mean, and we'll see that swing further left unless this Save Anchorage and a lot of the other folks who got Bronson elected can get out there and motivate their base and get some of these people swapped out here.
Interest Democrats.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I got some beachfront property in Arizona, Mike.
Yes, I do. Beachfront property in Arizona. It's going to be fantastic. All right, my friend. Well, thank you for coming on board. As always, it's a pleasure to talk with you. And we will, I guess, see you next week. Are you tired of your clothes yet? Are you just sick of your clothes? I mean,
me?
Yeah. Have they just?
Nah, that's what jeans are for.
So,
you can wear them forever.
I figured you'd just be like your fellow senator, just sick of these clothes. I just can't wait to go hit a Nordstrom's.
I can only afford 1 or 2 pairs of things. I don't have an unlimited clothing budget, so there's that.
It's called a washing machine. You may want to look into it. Or maybe your stuff's all dry clean. I don't know. All right, my friend. I will see you. I'll see you next week. Thanks.
All right, you guys take care.
All right, folks. We're out of time. All kidding aside, that's it for us. So, thank you for coming on board and joining us. We will see you tomorrow. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.